Commander Cale Voss floated in his mining suit near the asteroid belt, watching his crew work on the large space rock. The year was 2157, and humanity had spread across their solar system. They had colonies on Mars, the Moon, and several space stations. But they had never met anyone else in the universe. Kyle was 34 years old and had spent most of his life in space. He loved the quiet beauty of the asteroid fields near Jupiter. His job was simple: find rocks with useful metals and bring them back to Earth. It was peaceful work, and Cale enjoyed the silence. His radio crackled to life. "Commander, we're getting strange readings on the long-range sensors," said Lieutenant Amy Carson from the control room of their ship. Cale pushed off from the asteroid and floated back toward his vessel. "What kind of readings?" "Energy signatures. Like nothing I've ever seen. They're coming from outside the solar system, moving fast." Cale entered his ship and looked at the displays. 3 massive objects were approaching from deep space. They were huge, bigger than any ship humans had ever built. But something was wrong with one of them. It was trailing debris and moving in an unsteady path. "Get me a connection to Earth Command," Cale ordered. While Amy worked on the communications, Cale studied the approaching objects. The damaged one was definitely a ship of some kind. The other 2 seemed to be chasing it. As he watched, bright flashes of light passed between them. They were fighting. "Commander Voss, this is General Marcus Cole at Earth Command," came a voice over the radio. "We're seeing the same thing you are. We're sending Captain Lisa Brooks and a science team to your location immediately." "Understood, sir. Should we approach the damaged vessel?" "Negative. Stay back and observe. This could be humanity's first contact with alien life." The damaged ship suddenly changed course and headed directly toward Earth. The 2 pursuing ships fired more energy beams at it. Some hit, causing explosions that Cale could see even from his distance. "The damaged ship is entering our solar system," Amy reported. "It's heading for Luna." Cale watched as the alien vessel struggled toward Earth's moon. It was clearly dying, systems failing one by one. Behind it, the 2 pursuing ships slowed down and seemed to be scanning the area. Captain Lisa Brooks arrived 6 hours later with a team of scientists and soldiers. She was 29 years old, brilliant, and spoke 12 languages. She had studied alien life possibilities her whole career, even though no one had ever found any. "Commander Voss," she said as she came aboard his ship. "What's the situation?" "The damaged ship crashed on the dark side of Luna about 2 hours ago," Cale replied. "The other 2 ships are still out there just watching." Lisa looked at the sensor readings. "We need to get to that crash site before those other ships decide to finish the job." They took Lisa's faster ship to the moon. The crash site was easy to find. A long scar across the lunar surface ending in a crumpled mass of strange metal. The ship was unlike anything humans had built. It had smooth curves and seemed to be made from some kind of crystal-like material. "Life signs," reported Dr. Peter Grant, Lisa's chief scientist. "Weak, but definitely there." They landed nearby and put on their environmental suits. The alien ship was massive up close, easily 3 times the size of their largest vessels. Part of it was still glowing with a soft blue light. As they approached, a section of the ship's hull suddenly became transparent. Inside, they could see movement. Tall, elegant beings made of what looked like living crystal were moving around inside. "My God," Lisa whispered. "They're beautiful." One of the aliens approached the transparent section. It was about 7 feet tall, with a body that seemed to be made of pale blue crystal that moved like liquid. Where its face should be, there was a complex pattern of light that pulsed gently. The alien placed what might have been its hand against the transparent wall. Lisa did the same on her side. For a moment, they just stood there. 2 different species, looking at each other for the first time. The alien made sounds that their radio equipment picked up. Lisa started her translation programs, but it would take time to understand the language. Over the next several hours, more aliens appeared. There were maybe 30 of them in the ship, and they seemed to be badly hurt. Some were lying still, their crystal bodies dim and cracked. "They're dying," Dr. Grant said quietly. Lisa worked frantically with her computers, trying to understand their language. Slowly, Words began to make sense. The aliens called themselves Zaphirians. Their ship was called the Final Dawn, and they were refugees. The eldest alien, who seemed to be their leader, managed to communicate basic ideas through pictures and simple words. Her name was something like Thyra 7, and she was the keeper of their people's memories. Through painful, slow translation, they learned the horrible truth. The Zaphirians had once been billions strong, living on beautiful crystal worlds. But a group called the Hegemony Alliance had declared them inferior and hunted them across the galaxy. City after city had been destroyed. World after world had been burned. The Final Dawn carried the last survivors of their entire species. Why did they come here? Kyle asked. Thyra 7's patterns of light grew sad. Through the translator, her meaning became clear. Earth was marked as forbidden, quarantined. We hoped that meant it was safe. Quarantined by whom? Lisa asked. The old Galactic government. They said this world was dangerous, that the species here must not be contacted. We thought they meant dangerous to visitors, not dangerous as warriors. General Cole arrived with a full military team just as they made this discovery. He was a hard man who trusted no one easily. So we're in some kind of galactic quarantine? And these aliens brought their enemies right to our door? Thyra 7 seemed to understand his tone even through the translation barrier. Her light patterns became urgent. She showed them images of the pursuing ships. The hegemony destroyers were still out there, watching and waiting. They will come, she managed to say in broken English. They will kill us all. Humans too now. I am sorry, so sorry. Dr. Grant was studying readings from the alien ship. Commander Captain, you need to see this. Their technology is incredible. Their power systems, their material science, they're centuries ahead of us. Can we help them? Lisa asked. Maybe. But those ships out there? As if summoned by his words, alarms started going off. Lieutenant Carson's voice came over the radio. Commander, the 2 alien ships are moving. They're entering our solar system. Kyle looked at the dying Zaphirians, then at the approaching enemy ships. Humanity had just learned they weren't alone in the universe. They had also learned that the galaxy was a dangerous place, full of species that killed others simply for being different. General Cole, he said into his radio, we need to prepare Earth's defenses. I think we're about to have visitors who don't come in peace. On the screens, the hegemony ships grew larger as they approached. Thyra 7 looked at the humans with what might have been hope in her alien features. Will you help us? She asked in her broken English. Lisa looked at Kale, who looked at General Cole. They all knew what this meant. Earth was about to join a war they had never asked for, to protect people they had just met. Yes, Lisa said firmly. We'll help you. Outside, the stars watched silently as humanity prepared for its first alien war. The hegemony ships arrived 3 days later. Captain Helen Torres watched them from the bridge of her destroyer as they moved into Earth's outer solar system. There were 5 of them now, sleek and deadly-looking vessels that made Earth's ships look like toys. Helen was Earth's best spacefighter pilot. She had trained for wars that never came, against enemies that never existed. Now she faced her first real battle against aliens who wanted to kill her entire species. All ships, this is Torres, she spoke into her radio. Remember, they think we're primitive. Let's use that against them. The hegemony ship sent a message to Earth. It was in perfect English, which surprised everyone. Surrender the genetic deviants immediately. Your species will be allowed to serve as workers if you comply. Resist, and you will share their fate. President Karen Walsh's response was simple. Go to hell. The battle began badly for Earth. The alien ships had shields that stopped human weapons. Their energy beams cut through Earth ships like paper. In the first hour, humanity lost 6 vessels and over 300 people. But then, something strange happened. The humans began to adapt. Captain Torres noticed that the alien ships moved in predictable patterns. They fought like they were following a rulebook, so she threw out her own rulebook and started doing things that made no sense. All ships, Scatter formation. Use the asteroids as cover, she ordered. The hegemony commander expected humans to form neat battle lines like civilized species did. Instead, Earthships hid behind rocks, popped out to fire, then disappeared again. They moved like wolves hunting in a pack instead of soldiers marching in formation. On the lunar base, Commander Jake Martinez was watching the space battle while protecting the Zaphirian crash site. He was a tough ground soldier who had fought in Earth's last war on Mars. Next to him stood Nira 3, a young Zaphirian engineer who was trying to repair their ship. "Your people fight strangely," Nira 3 said through the translation device Dr. Grant had built. "We fight to win," Jake replied, "not to look good doing it." Nira 3's crystal body pulsed with what Jake was learning meant amusement. Over the past 3 days, he had spent a lot of time with her. Despite being made of living crystal, she was kind and funny. Jake found himself caring about her more than he should. "Can you help us fight them?" Jake asked. "We are not warriors. We never learned war like your people did. Then teach us your technology, and we'll handle the fighting." In space, the battle was turning strange. Dr. Peter Grant had been studying the captured pieces of hegemony ships, and he made a shocking discovery. The alien technology was actually simpler than Earth's in many ways. "It's like they forgot how to innovate," he told General Cole over the radio. "They just kept copying the same designs over and over. Our technology is different. Weird. They don't know how to counter it." Captain Torres proved this point when she used her ship's mining laser to cut through a hegemony vessel's shields. The aliens had never seen a weapon that worked like a tool before. "Their shields stop energy weapons and projectiles," she reported. "But they don't know what to do with cutting beams." Earthships began using mining equipment, construction tools, and improvised weapons. The hegemony forces, trained to fight, conventional enemies, struggled to adapt. But the real surprise came when the Zaphirians finally got their ship systems partially working. Thyra 7 contacted Captain Lisa Brooks with urgent information. "Your species," she said through the translator. "We have found records in our memory banks. Earth was not quarantined because your people were weak." "Then why?" Lisa asked. "Because the old Galactic Council was afraid of you." Lisa almost laughed. "Afraid of us? We barely have faster-than-light travel. We've never left our own solar system." "That is what made them afraid. Most species develop slowly, carefully. They follow the same paths, make the same discoveries in the same order. Your people do everything wrong, but somehow make it work." Dr. Grant joined the conversation. He had been analyzing Zaphirian technology and making connections. "She's right. Look at our computers. We use quantum processing, but we do it completely differently than they do. Our weapons, our ships, even our social structures, everything is unique." Thera 7 continued her explanation. "The old council sent scouts to watch your world long ago. They saw humans solve problems in ways no one had ever tried before. They saw your wars, your creativity, your refusal to accept limits. The scouts reported that humans were genetic wildcards, too unpredictable to safely contact. So they quarantined us," General Cole said. "To protect the galaxy from you," Thera 7 confirmed. But the old council was overthrown by the hegemony. The hegemony believes in order, in control. They make all species the same. That is why they hunt people like us, because we are different. In space, Captain Torres was learning just how different humans could be. She had started using broken asteroids as weapons, launching them at enemy ships with mining tractors. The hegemony ships tried to shoot the rocks, but there were too many pieces. "Torres to all ships," she called. "They can't handle chaos. Stop fighting like soldiers and start fighting like humans." The Earth fleet began using tactics that would have horrified any military academy. They rammed enemies with ships set to explode. They hid inside asteroid fields and jumped out like pirates. They used their own destroyed ships as decoys. Commander Cale Voss had been put in charge of overall strategy, and he was learning to think like the aliens expected, then do the opposite. When the hegemony ships formed up for a formal battle, Cale split his forces and attacked from 6 different directions at once. "No honor," complained one of the alien commanders over an open channel. "You fight like animals." "We fight like humans," Cale replied. "There's a difference." The battle raged for 2 days. Earth was outnumbered and outgunned, but the aliens couldn't predict what humans would do next. Every time the hegemony adapted to one tactic, the humans invented 3 new ones. On the lunar base, Jake Martinez and Nera 3 were working together to combine human and Zaphirian technology. The results were amazing. Zaphirian energy systems powered human weapons in ways neither species had imagined possible. "Your people and mine," Nera 3 said as they tested a new hybrid shield generator. "We make a good team." Jake looked at her crystal face and saw something that might have been affection in her light patterns. "Yeah, we do." The turning point came when Dr. Grant made a breakthrough. He had been studying Zaphirian memory crystals and found something incredible. "Lisa, you need to see this," he called excitedly. "The Zaphirians have records going back thousands of years, and according to these files, humans aren't just random wildcards." "What do you mean?" "We're descendants. There was an ancient species called the architects who built the stargates that connect the galaxy. They vanished mysteriously, but they left colonies behind. Earth is one of those colonies." Captain Lisa Brooks stared at the data. "You're saying we're related to the people who built galactic civilization?" "More than that. We're their heirs. That's why our technology works differently. We're unconsciously using principles that the rest of the galaxy forgot." This news reached the hegemony forces, and their response was immediate. The 5 ships pulled back and sent a priority message to their home base. "Architect genetics confirmed," the message said. "This system must be sterilized immediately. Request planet killer authorization." Admiral Ryan Clark, Earth's overall military commander, intercepted the message. He called an emergency meeting with all Earth forces. "They're bringing in their main fleet," he announced. 200 ships, including weapons that can destroy planets." The room fell silent. Everyone knew Earth's 20 ships couldn't fight 200. Thyra 7 spoke up through the translator. "There may be hope. The architects left other colonies, other descendants. If we can contact them..." "How?" General Cole asked. "The old star gate network. There is a dormant gate in your outer system. If we can activate it..." Dr. Grant nodded excitedly. "We could call for help, find other humans, other descendants. Or," Kyle Voss said grimly, "we could lead the hegemony right to them." Outside, the stars waited silently as Earth faced its greatest decision. Fight, alone and probably die, or risk exposing other human colonies to the same danger. The choice would determine not just Earth's fate, but the future of human species scattered across the galaxy. The hegemony main fleet arrived like a storm of death. 200 ships appeared at the edge of Earth's solar system, their dark hulls blocking out the stars. Admiral Ryan Clark stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching sensors count enemy vessels until the numbers became meaningless. "Sir," reported Lieutenant Amy Carson, now transferred to the command ship, "they're requesting communication." The main screen flickered to life, showing a creature that barely looked alive. The hegemony supreme commander was tall and thin, covered in metallic plates. His eyes glowed red, and when he spoke, his voice sounded like grinding metal. "I am Commander Vex Prime of the Hegemony Alliance," the creature said. "You harbor genetic deviants, and have revealed yourselves as architect spawn. Surrender now, and your species will be permitted to serve as laborers. Refuse, and join the deviants in extinction." President Karen Walsh had arrived at the orbital command station. She was a tough woman who had led Earth through 3 economic crises and 2 wars. She looked at the alien commander without fear. "We don't abandon our friends," she said simply. "If you want them, you'll have to go through us." Vex Prime's metal face twisted into something like a smile. "Your ancestors challenged our order once before. We learned from that mistake. You have 24 hours to reconsider." The screen went dark, and the alien fleet began to move into position around Earth's sun. Dr. Susan Miller had been working without sleep for 3 days, trying to integrate Zaphirian technology with human systems. She was Earth's best engineer, and she had never faced a more important challenge. "The Zaphirian biosystems are incredible," she reported to the Emergency Council. "They can adapt and grow like living things. Combined with our quantum processors, we might be able to level the playing field. Might? General Cole asked. 200 to 20 ships, sir. I can give our people better weapons and shields, but I can't create miracles. On the lunar base, Jake Martinez was helping Nera 3 transfer Zaphirian survivors to safer locations deeper underground. The two had grown closer during the crisis, sharing quiet moments between the chaos of preparing for war. I'm scared, Nera 3 admitted as they moved her injured people. Not of dying, of watching your species die because of us. Jake stopped and took her crystal hand in his gloved one. We made this choice. Nobody forced us to help you. Why? She asked. Why risk everything for people you just met? Jake thought about it. Because it's the right thing to do. Because if we let bullies win, they never stop bullying. Nera 3's light pattern showed sadness mixed with something else. If Jake didn't know better, he would have called it love. Captain Helen Torres was working with Dr. Grant to modify Earth's ships with the new hybrid technology. The results were impressive, but frightening. The biomechanical systems seemed almost alive, growing and changing as they learned. The weapons are responding to the pilot's thoughts, Doctor, Grant reported. The Zaphirian neural interfaces are connecting directly to human brain patterns. Is that safe? Torres asked. Probably not, but neither is fighting 200 enemy ships with 20 of our own. Commander Cale Voss had been promoted to admiral and put in charge of the combined human Zaphirian fleet. He studied battle plans that all looked hopeless. Even with their new technology, Earth's forces were vastly outnumbered. We need to think differently, he told his staff. The hegemony expects us to defend Earth directly. What if we don't? Sir? Lieutenant Commander Alex Turner asked. He was young but brilliant, one of Earth's best tactical minds. They want to destroy our planet. But what if we make them chase us first? Draw them away from Earth. Make them fight on our terms. Captain Lisa Brooks had been working with Thyra 7 to understand more about the ancient architects. Deep in the Zaphirian memory banks, they found records that changed everything. The architects didn't just build stargates, Lisa announced to the War Council. They built weapons, planet-sized defensive systems hidden throughout the galaxy. Where? Admiral Clark demanded. That's the problem. The locations were kept secret even from most architects. Only the genetic keys can unlock them. Genetic keys. Thyra 7's translation came through clearly. Architect descendants. Humans. Your DNA holds the access codes. President Walsh looked around the room. So there might be ancient superweapons out there, but we don't know where they are or how to use them. Correct, Lisa said. But there's more. According to these records, Earth itself was an architect colony. There should be facilities here hidden and waiting. Dr. Miller's eyes lit up. The ocean trenches. We found structures down there that don't match any known geology. We always assumed they were natural formations. Get me a deep-sea exploration team, President Walsh ordered. If there's architect technology on Earth, we need it now. The battle began at dawn Earth time. The hegemony fleet advanced in perfect formation, just as Admiral Voss had predicted. He led the Earth fleet out to meet them near Mars, while secretly preparing his real strategy. The first exchange of fire went badly for Earth. Even with their new hybrid weapons, human ships were taking terrible damage. The enemy's superior numbers began to tell immediately. All ships, execute retreat pattern Alpha, Voss ordered. To the hegemony forces, it looked like the humans were running away in panic. Commander Vex Prime smiled with satisfaction as his ships pursued the fleeing Earth fleet. But Admiral Voss wasn't retreating. He was leading the enemy into the asteroid belt, where Captain Torres had spent days setting traps. Now, Voss commanded. Hidden human ships emerged from behind asteroids. Mining charges that had been secretly placed exploded throughout the asteroid field. Suddenly, the hegemony fleet found itself surrounded by debris, blinded by explosions, and under attack from all directions. Impossible, Vex Prime roared. No species fights like this. Lieutenant Commander Turner led a squadron of small fighters through the chaos. His ship had been fitted with one of Dr. Miller's new biomechanical systems, and it responded to his thoughts like a living thing. He dove between two enemy destroyers, his weapons automatically adjusting their frequency to penetrate their shields. The biosystem learned from each shot, becoming more effective with every attack, but the victory was temporary. The hegemony had too many ships and they adapted quickly to human tactics. Soon Earth forces were being pushed back again. "Sir," reported Lieutenant Carson from the flagship, "we're losing ships faster than we can replace them, and the enemy is bringing up their planet-killer weapon." Admiral Voss saw the massive hegemony dreadnought moving toward Earth. It was the size of a small moon, bristling with weapons that could crack planets apart. "All ships covering formation," he ordered. "We have to stop that thing from reaching Earth." Captain Torres led the desperate charge against the dreadnought. Her squadron of hybrid fighters darted between the massive ship's weapon towers trying to find weak spots. "The biosystems are showing me something," she reported. "There's a pattern in their shield matrix. If we hit it at exactly the right frequency." She never finished the sentence. A hegemony beam caught her ship and Captain Helen Torres died saving her planet. Lieutenant Commander Turner took over her mission. With tears in his eyes, he guided his biomechanical fighter straight into the dreadnought's main weapon. The explosion was visible from Earth. "Turner's sacrifice bought us time," Admiral Voss reported grimly. "But the planet killer is still operational." On Earth, Dr. Miller's deep-sea team had found what they were looking for. Hidden in the deepest ocean trench was an architect facility that had waited 50,000 years for human hands to activate it. Captain Brooks dove down in a special submersible with Thyra 7 and Dr. Grant. When they reached the ancient structure, it began to glow the moment Lisa touched it. "It's responding," Dr. Grant said excitedly. "The genetic locks are opening." Inside the facility, they found technology that made even Zaphirian science look primitive. Quantum computers the size of cities, energy systems that tapped directly into space itself, and weapons that could reshape reality. "Can we use this?" Lisa asked. "Not without training," came a new voice. The facility's artificial intelligence had awakened after millennia of sleep, but the learning process has begun. "Touch the interface, Architect Descendant." Lisa placed her hand on a crystal surface and knowledge flooded her mind. She saw the galaxy as the architects had built it. She understood technologies that modern science couldn't imagine. But with the knowledge came a terrible responsibility. The weapons she now commanded could save Earth or destroy the galaxy. In space, the hegemony planet killer was charging its main weapon. Earth had minutes before its sun would be ignited, and its world burned away. "Lisa," Admiral Voss called over the radio. "Whatever you're going to do, do it now." Captain Lisa Brooks looked at the ancient controls with new understanding. She had the power to end the war instantly, but using it would announce to the entire galaxy that the architects had returned. There would be no hiding after this. Earth would either become the center of a new galactic civilization or the target of every species that feared change. The planet killer's weapon began to glow with deadly light. Lisa made her choice. Captain Lisa Brooks placed her hands on the ancient architect control system and felt power flow through her body like lightning. Above them, the hegemony planet killer was seconds away from destroying Earth's sun. "Do it!" Admiral Voss shouted over the radio. Lisa activated the underwater facility. The ocean around them began to glow as systems that had slept for 50,000 years came back to life. Energy fields spread out from the deep-sea base, reaching up through the water and into space itself. In orbit, something impossible happened. The hegemony planet killer's main weapon simply stopped working. The massive energy beam that should have ignited Earth's sun flickered and died. "What did you do?" Dr. Grant asked, staring at the readings on his instruments. "I turned off their weapon," Lisa said. Her voice sounded different now, filled with knowledge that hurt to contain. "The architects built safeguards into all galactic technology. I just remembered how to use them." Commander Vex Prime screamed in fury as his ultimate weapon failed. "Impossible. That technology is older than civilization itself." "Exactly." Lisa's voice came over all communication channels in the solar system. "And we built it." The architect facility was changing Lisa in ways she didn't fully understand. The ancient systems were connecting to her mind, showing her how the galaxy really worked. She could see the energy patterns that held space together, the quantum threads that connected every star, and she could control them. Lisa, Thyra 7 said gently, the power is dangerous. The architects vanished because they went too far, tried to become something beyond physical existence. I know, Lisa replied, but right now, Earth needs this power. Above the ocean, President Walsh was watching reports from the space battle. The disabled planet killer had given Earth's forces hope, but the hegemony still had 200 ships against 20. Ma'am, reported Dr. Miller from the Orbital Command Center. I'm getting readings from the ocean facility. It's not just weapons down there. It's transformation technology. What kind of transformation? The kind that could change humans into something more than human. President Walsh understood immediately. Earth needed an edge, and the architect technology might provide it. But the cost could be their humanity itself. Open a channel to all Earth forces, she ordered. I'm calling for volunteers. Admiral Cale Voss heard the call while fighting desperately against overwhelming odds. 3 hegemony ships had surrounded his flagship, and his shields were failing. Any Earth personnel willing to undergo architect enhancement, report to the nearest facility, President Walsh's voice announced. Warning. The process is experimental and dangerous. We don't know what it will do to you. Voss made his decision quickly. Amy, take the ship. I'm going down to that ocean base. Sir, you can't abandon your command. I'm not abandoning it. I'm trying to save it. Jake Martinez heard the same call while defending the lunar base with Nera 3. The hegemony had landed ground forces, and the human defenders were being pushed back. Jake, Nera 3 said during a brief pause in the fighting, your people are offering to change themselves to save us. That's incredible. We do what we have to do, Jake replied, reloading his weapon. I want to try something, Nera 3 said suddenly. My people's biotechnology, combined with your architect genetics, we might be able to create something new. Something that's both human and Zaphirian. Jake looked at her crystal face and saw determination there. You mean like a hybrid? Is that even possible? Only one way to find out. Dr. Grant was already working on the enhancement process when the first volunteers arrived at the ocean facility. The architect systems had given him knowledge of genetic manipulation that went far beyond human science. The enhancement affects everyone differently, he explained to the nervous volunteers. Some of you might gain mental abilities. Others might develop physical changes. A few might be able to interface directly with technology. Admiral Voss was the first to volunteer. He entered the strange glowing chamber that the architect AI had prepared. Energy flowed around him like liquid light, and he felt his body changing at the cellular level. When he emerged, he looked mostly the same, but his eyes now glowed with a soft blue light, and he could sense things that had been invisible before. He could feel the quantum signatures of every ship in the solar system. He could perceive the mathematical patterns that governed space and time. How do you feel? Dr. Grant asked. Like I can see the universe the way the architects did, Voss replied. And I understand now why they disappeared. This much knowledge, it's almost too much for a human mind to handle. But Voss held on to his humanity through will and determination. He contacted the space fleet using his new abilities, speaking directly to their computers without radio equipment. All ships, this is Admiral Voss. New battle plan. Follow my lead exactly. The enhanced Voss began coordinating Earth's forces with perfect precision. He could see the enemy's movements before they made them, predict their tactics with mathematical certainty. The tide of battle began to turn. On Luna, Jake Martinez and Nera 3 were attempting their own kind of enhancement. Using a combination of Zaphirian biotechnology and human genetic material, they merged their consciousnesses into something completely new. The process was painful and dangerous. For several minutes, Jake thought he was dying as his nervous system integrated with Nera 3's crystal matrix, but when it was over, he was still himself while also being something more. He could think with both human creativity and Zaphirian precision. He could feel emotions in ways that no pure human or pure Zaphirian ever could, and he could communicate with other beings on levels that went beyond words. Jake? Came Nera 3's voice, but now it was inside his head as well as outside. "I'm here," he replied. "We're here. Together." The hybrid being that was Jake and Nira turned to face the attacking hegemony soldiers. With perfect coordination between human tactics and Zaphirian technology, they began pushing the invaders back. Dr. Miller underwent enhancement next, gaining the ability to understand and control any technology she touched. President Walsh followed, becoming something like a living computer that could process information from across the entire solar system. Each enhanced human retained their personality and memories, but gained capabilities that individual humans could never possess. They were still human, but they were also something new. The hegemony forces noticed the change immediately. Their perfect battle plans stopped working as enhanced humans predicted every move. Their superior technology became useless as enhanced engineers turned their own weapons against them. Commander Vex Prime realized he was losing the battle he thought he had already won. "What are you becoming?" he demanded over the communication channels. "We're becoming what we were always meant to be," Admiral Voss replied. His voice now carried harmonics that seemed to come from space itself. "We're remembering what our ancestors knew." The enhanced humans began reaching out beyond Earth's solar system, using the ancient Stargate network that the architects had built. They sent messages to other hidden architect colonies, other descendants who had been living in isolation. The responses came quickly. From distant star systems, other human colonies began to wake up. Some had developed in completely different directions, but all carried the same genetic heritage. All had the potential for enhancement. "This is Captain Maria Santos of the new Terra Colony," came one message. "We've been hiding from the hegemony for 200 years. Are you saying it's time to fight back?" "This is Commander David Chen of the Frontier Republic," came another. "Our ancestors told us stories about the old homeworld. Is Earth really calling us home?" Within hours, reports came in from dozens of hidden human colonies. The scattered children of the architects were awakening across the galaxy. But the enhancement process was taking its toll. Several volunteers didn't survive the transformation. Others emerged, changed in ways that frightened even their friends. And Lisa Brooks, still connected to the ocean facility, was becoming something beyond human understanding. "Lisa," Dr. Grant called to her. "You need to disconnect from the system. You're losing yourself." "No," Lisa replied, her voice now coming from the facility's speakers rather than her body. "I'm finding myself. I can see the whole galaxy now, Peter. I can see how to fix everything." Thyra 7 watched with growing concern as her human friend transcended physical existence. This is how the architects vanished. They became pure consciousness, abandoning their bodies to become one with the universe itself. "Maybe that's what needs to happen," Lisa said. "Maybe someone needs to make that sacrifice to save everyone else." In space, the enhanced Admiral Voss was winning the battle against impossible odds, but he could feel the price of his new abilities. Every use of his powers burned away a little more of his human emotions, his human connections. The enhanced humans were saving Earth, but they were paying for it with their humanity itself. And, in the depths of space, other hegemony fleets were responding to Commander Vex Prime's distress call. The battle for Earth was only the beginning of a war that would decide the fate of the entire galaxy. The hegemony Grand Fleet arrived like a dark shadow across the stars. Over 1,000 ships led by the Supreme War Marshal himself surrounded Earth's solar system. They came to end the architect threat once and for all. Admiral Cale Voss felt their approach through his enhanced senses long before any sensors detected them. His new abilities let him perceive space and time in ways that still amazed him. But each use of his powers made him feel more distant from his human friends. "All enhanced personnel, report to command." He sent the message directly into their minds. President Walsh, now able to process information from across the galaxy simultaneously, coordinated with the awakened human colonies. Dr. Miller could control any technology just by touching it. Jake Martinez and Nira 3 merged into a single, hybrid consciousness, served as ambassadors to alien species. But it was Lisa Brooks who had changed the most. She no longer had a physical body, existing instead as pure consciousness within the architect facility. She could see and influence events across the entire galaxy. The War Marshal is different from the others. Lisa's voice came from speakers throughout the command center. He's enhanced too, but with stolen architect technology. He's become something monstrous. Can we stop him? President Walsh asked. Not without becoming monsters ourselves, Lisa replied sadly. The deeper we go into architect power, the less human we become. The hybrid Jake Nira consciousness spoke up. Maybe that's not entirely bad. I'm still Jake, still Nira, but I'm also something new, something that can understand both species perfectly. The question is, Admiral Voss said, are we saving humanity or destroying it? Before anyone could answer, the hegemony attack began. The War Marshal's flagship was the size of a small planet, covered in weapons that could destroy star systems. Worse, it was protected by corrupted architect technology that made it nearly invincible. All human colonies, this is Earth Command, President Walsh broadcast across the galaxy. The final battle begins now. Fight for your freedom. Fight for your right to be different. The response was immediate. From hundreds of star systems, human ships began emerging from hiding. Some were primitive by galactic standards. Others had developed technology that even the hegemony didn't understand. All were determined to end centuries of hiding. Captain Maria Santos arrived from New Terra with a fleet of bioships that had been grown rather than built. Commander David Chen brought quantum fighters that could exist in multiple dimensions at once. Colony after colony added their unique contributions to the fight, but the hegemony had been preparing for this moment. They had studied captured architect technology and created their own enhanced warriors. The War Marshal himself had undergone transformations that made him more machine than living being. The space battle was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Enhanced humans fought with weapons that bent reality itself. The hegemony responded with corrupted architect technology that tried to tear holes in space and time. Jake Nira led a pioneer diplomatic mission to species that the hegemony had conquered. Using their unique hybrid nature, they could communicate with alien minds in ways that pure humans couldn't. You don't have to serve them anymore, Jake Nira told the enslaved Korthak warriors. The architects have returned. We can set you free. One by one, conquered species began to rebel. The hegemony's empire, built on fear and oppression, started cracking as its subjects remembered what freedom felt like. Dr. Miller, now able to control hegemony technology directly, turned their own ships against them. Their computers can't resist me, she reported. The architect genetics give us access to all galactic technology. But the War Marshal had expected this. He began destroying his own ships rather than let them be captured. If I cannot rule the EO galaxy, his voice boomed across all frequencies, then I will cleanse it of all impure life. He activated a weapon that the hegemony had built in secret, a device that could cause every star in the galaxy to go supernova simultaneously. It was genocide on an unimaginable scale. He's insane, Admiral Voss said as his enhanced senses detected the weapon charging. He'll kill everyone, including his own people. Not everyone, Lisa's voice corrected him. The weapon requires precise targeting. It needs to identify each star individually, but if we disrupt the targeting system... How? Someone needs to interface directly with the weapon. Someone who can think faster than its computers, match its processing power with pure consciousness. Admiral Voss understood immediately. You're talking about full transcendence, becoming pure energy like the original architects. Yes, and whoever does it won't be coming back. They'll exist forever as part of the galactic infrastructure, maintaining the balance but never again being truly human. The command center fell silent. They all knew what Lisa was offering to do. There has to be another way, President Walsh said. There is, came an unexpected voice. Thyra 7, the elderly Zaphirian, entered the chamber with several other members of her species. Our people have been studying your architect technology. We think we can help. How? Zaphirian biotechnology can create a buffer, a way to interface with architect systems without losing your humanity completely, but it requires willing merger between our species. Jake Nira stepped forward. We've already proven it can work, but it would mean changing both species forever. Into what? Dr. Miller asked. Into something new. Not human, not Zaphirian, but carrying the best of both, a species that could use architect power without being consumed by it. President Walsh looked around the room at her enhanced colleagues. They were already changing, becoming something beyond normal humanity. Maybe this merger was the next step in that evolution. Do it, she decided. Save the galaxy. The process was more complex than Jake and Nira's individual merger. It required volunteers from both species to link their consciousness directly to the architect facility. Lisa, existing as pure thought, helped guide the transformation. Admiral Voss was the first to complete the full merger. His human strategic mind combined with Zaphirian precision and architect knowledge created something that could think on cosmic scales while still caring about individual lives. I can see the War Marshal's weapon, he reported, his voice now carrying harmonics from both species. And I can stop it. The merged consciousness reached out across space, infiltrating the hegemony superweapon through quantum pathways that existed in 11 dimensions. The War Marshal tried to resist, but his stolen and corrupted technology couldn't match the pure architect systems guided by hybrid wisdom. Impossible! The War Marshal screamed as his weapon shut down. I am the supreme evolution, I am perfection. No, Admiral Voss replied calmly. You're just another tyrant who thinks power makes him right. With the superweapon disabled, the tide of battle turned decisively. Human Zaphirian hybrid warriors fought with perfect coordination. Enhanced humans turned hegemony technology against itself. Liberated alien species joined the fight for freedom. The War Marshal's massive flagship, stripped of its stolen architect defenses, became vulnerable to conventional attack. Captain Santos led the final assault, her bioships flowing around the enemy vessel like living water. For every species you destroyed, she said as her weapons tore through the flagship's hull. For every world you burned, the War Marshal died still believing he was saving the galaxy from chaos. He never understood that diversity and freedom created strength, not weakness. With their leader dead and their empire crumbling, the remaining hegemony forces surrendered. Some asked for mercy, others simply fled to the galaxy's edge. The war was over. 5 years later, Ambassador Thyra 7 stood before the new Galactic Council on Earth. The chamber was filled with representatives from hundreds of species, all equal members of the renewed galactic civilization. Today, we celebrate not just victory over tyranny, she said, her words translated into dozens of languages. We celebrate the birth of something new, a galaxy where being different is not a crime but a gift. In the audience, the hybrid descendants of humans and Zaphirians sat alongside pure members of both species. They had found a way to use architect power without losing their essential selves. They were the bridge between what the galaxy had been and what it could become. President Walsh, still enhanced but still recognizably human, watched from the Earth delegation. The choice to help a dying alien species had changed everything. Earth was no longer quarantined and forgotten. It was the bright center of a new kind of civilization. In the depths of the ocean, Lisa Brooks continued to exist as part of the architect network. She was no longer human in any physical sense, but she had chosen to remain connected to humanity's future. Through her, the ancient technology served life instead of threatening it. Jake and Nira, now permanently merged but still individuals within their shared consciousness, worked with young people from dozens of species. They taught the children that differences weren't barriers to overcome, but strengths to celebrate. The galaxy had learned the most important lesson of all, that salvation didn't come from being the same, but from choosing to help each other despite being different. And in schools across 1,000 worlds, children played together while learning. The story of how a dying alien race found salvation on a small blue planet, and how that salvation grew to heal an entire galaxy.